I'm here to talk about my favourite document, but actually my favourite document isn't a document at all. It's two objects. These are actually figurines made of porridge, of all things. We have a small lion and also a seated man. These were created by Sidney Langford Jones. He spent much of his later life in Bluebury, which is now in Oxfordshire, but at the time he was living there it was part of Berkshire. He was born in 1888 in Chelsea in London, and as a graduate of the Royal College of Art, he was actually imprisoned for conscientious objection during the First World War. He had really strong Quaker beliefs, and he believed that all war was wrong, so he refused to enlist. And this was why he was arrested, and he spent a total of 17 months in Pentonville Prison in London for this. And during that time, artistic materials were forbidden, and so he wasn't able to express himself creatively. So he actually came up with an ingenious way of being able to do so, and that was by creating these porridge figurines. The beauty of them is that they could be easily crushed if a prison guard suddenly appeared, because they had frequent checks of cells, and of course he would have gotten in a lot of trouble if they'd have been found. We're fortunate that in the collection we also have a memoir of where he wrote all about his artistic life, and within that it describes how he made them and then how they influenced his career later on. He explained that what gave him the initial inspiration was the whiting that the inmates had to clean their pans, and he remembered that whiting is actually a key component of gesso, which is an artistic kind of paint. But in order to turn whiting into gesso, you need an adhesive, and thought long and hard about what he could use, and in the end decided that the porridge that they'd been given to eat had a sort of sticky quality, kind of paste-like, that he could turn into an adhesive. There were several failed attempts to reach the point of creating this gesso, but eventually he realised that if you mixed the whiting with the porridge and let it to dry, then it would turn into a sort of powder. And then if you mixed more porridge with the powder, then it got even thicker. And after several goes, he managed to create a kind of passable gesso. So how did he go from paint to these figurines? Well, at the centre of each one there is either a stick or a piece of rag, something that could give it a bit of structure. And then he painted the gesso on top of it, and then used this little tool in order to carve the sculptures. He made several of them whilst he was in prison, but only two have survived. And I think that's really incredible that these two have managed to survive at all, because, I mean, firstly they're made of essentially food stuff, but they're surprisingly sturdy and durable. Later in his career, he said in his notes that this detailed work actually inspired him to become a medalist. He was very successful in that career, and he produced medals for the Royal Mint, and some of his medals were displayed at the summer exhibition of the Royal Academy. And he says in his notes that the figurines were actually led to the direct outcome of him having this career. What I love about these is, well, firstly the question of, if he hadn't have been imprisoned, then where would his career have led him? And it just makes me feel inspired by creativity and ingenuity in times of adversity, and how a creative instinct will prevail even when your resources are extremely limited. And in fact, in life, I find that it's often when your resources are limited that you're forced to be creative and think outside of the box, and sometimes have some of your best ideas. And I think that these two figurines are a real testament